I'll be moderating today's forum between a couple of our candidates. Christine was unable to join us today, but we do have James Olson and Sharon Winter here with us. If this is the first time you've been to one of our Eggs and Issues, we do have a change this year. That's as far as how questions get submitted. On your tables, you have little yellow note cards. Please write your question on that particular note card. Get those turned into me up here up front. I'll get those questions asked to our candidates. Our candidates today will have 3 minutes for opening remarks. Then we'll move into our questions. They'll have 1 minute each to answer those questions. They'll be rotating who starts first on each of those questions. We have a couple of paddles up here. The yellow paddle will signify that there's 10 seconds left to wrap up your answer. The red paddle, we're going to stop. Please help me when you see that red paddle. Let's end, so I don't have to jump in and then cut things off. We'll keep things moving. If there's any cell phones in the audience, if we can please silence the cell phones out of respect for our candidates, that would be fantastic. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get things started. Mr. Olson, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm really pleased you're here. And my kudos to the Bremerton Chamber of Commerce for supporting full transparency for people who want to be elected and people who are in public office. This is very important. So I'll come back to that in a second. First of all, James Olson, running for the 23rd Legislative District, position number 2. Washington State is in the throes of a severe fiscal crisis. The Democrats refuse to recognize it. We're facing a $3.8 billion shortfall next year. A little quick background on myself. I was in the military, U.S. Coast Guard, 30 years, retired as an 06 captain, colonel in the Army services. That's the equivalent rank. I had assignments at the Pentagon. I had assignments working for the Commandant back in Washington, D.C. I had 6 command leadership roles, various units. One of them, my favorite, was a commissioned Navy unit, an expeditionary warfare unit that I worked for. One of the assignments that I had that's germane to what I want to do with this Washington State, I was involved with streamlining, where the Coast Guard took it, they were told to by the Vice President Al Gore, to basically tighten up the government. We have too much waste. It was called the Streamlining Initiative. I was called in that. Okay, well, enough of the introduction. You can read the rest of it on here. What I do want to say is I believe firmly in the importance of transparency in government. These events are few and far between, and a lot of times the elected officials, people, the incumbents, seem to sometimes want to dodge these events for a variety of reasons. The challengers like Mr. Winters and myself need to do what we can to speak to the public, and that's often very difficult. Ms. Rolfes is not here today. Ms. Rolfes announced she wasn't going to be here quite some time because it was on the Chamber's website. What I was told was that she couldn't find a babysitter. I'm from Bainbridge Island. She's from Bainbridge Island. We have 20,000 people, probably 500 eligible young ladies that could babysit. I'm not saying that that's a dog ate my homework excuse, but I find that it's a poke in the eye of the taxpayers for her to not to be here today. Now, last election, I and the small media company that I had came here and were filming these events, much like the Chamber is doing today. Good for them. So we filmed a number of them. But when I came here to film Ms. Rolfes, she refused to have it filmed. She said, "You're not going to put me on film." She made a big stink about it, and Ms. Clapman with the Chamber supported her. She wasn't filmed. The newspaper, Steve Gardner at The Sun, and Adele Ferguson roasted Ms. Rolfes as to what it was the people did not want to hear from her. Okay, I'm James Olson. Let's have transparency in government. Ms. Rolfes, I will speak for you in your abstention.
Mr. Sharon Winter.
I'm Sharon Winters. I was a construction foreman and just all around just an average working guy. And I'm fed up with the way government's spending my money. And we have the $3 billion deficit to begin with our budget, plus we have $23 billion of unfunded liabilities out there. And the teachers' retirement, public service, public employees, retirement funds, increases in cost of living adjustment for workers' compensation. It's just, they spent million. They created $800 million in new taxes last year. And I go, how are they going to fund the $23 billion? I mean, that's going to come out of our pockets and our services. I mean, the government needs to get smaller, tighten the reins, take less of the control in my life. And I just was fed up with the way everything's going down. And I have a son. I want him to have a good life, not just pay taxes every day. And I want him to get the best education possible, and that's our primary duty, our paramount duty, as the Constitution says. And the state gives mandates that don't meet those needs to the schools. I mean, we say, go ahead and do this, you're required to, and then we don't fund them correctly. And that just makes me upset with the way things are done, so I had to throw my name onto the ballot just to try to make a difference. And that's pretty much who I am.